8 months ago, I started my role as a senior physiotherapist, and even now I find myself asking the same question. Am I truly ready to be a senior? If you're a band 5 physiotherapist asking the same question, then this video is for you. I'm going to share my secondment experiences in hopes that through my experiences, you will get that one step closer to answering this question for yourself. My name is Mariah, I'm a physiotherapist, and on this channel I'm posting physiotherapy, lifestyle and travel related. If you're interested, subscribe, notification bell to all so you never miss a video. As I said, I am on an 8-month secondment. I'm currently nearing the end of my secondment and I will be returning to being a junior physiotherapist in a few weeks. Now the secondment has been great in the sense that with secondment you obviously get the opportunity to see what it's like in a certain speciality, you get the chance to see what it's like stepping up to a different role potentially, and you get the security of having your previous job there. The downside to it is you get comfortable. That's the best way to say it. You get comfortable in the role that you're currently in and you don't really want to go back in many cases. Like, I don't really want to go back, but I'm going back, and I'll get into that further. So I'd say that's the main downside. Obviously the other downside could be if you're in the secondment at the time and a static pops up in another area or in the area that you're in, you can still go for it, but depending on where you're in the secondment, it's not necessarily going to look bad, but you get where I'm going with this. Like, let's say you came out like moments after you got this secondment, there could have been a chance for someone else to get that secondment, if you get where I'm going with this. So for me, reasons I went for it is because I wanted a taster of a bit more time with that speciality. I wanted to step up to being a 6. I feel like as a 5, I was doing quite a few things that 6 were doing. So I found elements of the transition hard, but not all elements of the transition hard. I felt like I was already managing my wards very well. I was already delegating very well. I wasn't officially like supervising or anything like that, but I did have times where I would have a work experience student shadow me for the day, or let a nursing student shadow me for the week, and those are things that like a 6 does. So I felt that in many cases as a band 5 I was overstepping my mark, in the sense that like I was showing my capabilities, but I was overstepping my pay grade, if that makes sense. Not that everything's about pay, but like I was overstepping my pay grade. And so this came at a perfect time for me, and if I were to go back, I would absolutely do this again. Now, in my role as a senior 6, I manage my own ward, I have my own caseload, I have my colleagues that I delegate things to, and obviously I'm part of a wider team. And I feel like as a 6, I've dived into more things, not just in terms of in my team, but I've dived into more projects, more audits, more stuff along those lines, interest groups and things like that, that are expected of you as a 6, but also some things I've taken on top of my other duties, like for instance of being a CSP rep, which I do on the side. So these are things like I've also had to balance. Now, I feel like I'm currently at the point where I think I'm about 98% confident that I have what it takes to be a senior physiotherapist. I mean, speaking of confidence, I feel like naturally I have an element of confidence in myself. I have a natural element of leadership. I have, I'm very self-aware. I've always been pretty self-aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. Whether I want to work on them or not is a whole different situation. But I also feel like I have the clinical knowledge that makes me at a good point. However, sometimes I have this small element of self-doubt. And for me, the self-doubt comes in terms of with my clinical knowledge. By that, I mean, other great physiotherapists that I work alongside have completed way more rotations than I have. I've only done 3 rotations, and that's by my own choice. I've done 3 rotations, and I'm at this point now where I'm like, I feel like I got this, I can be a senior. But then on the other side, I'm like, girl, are people gonna take you seriously because you only completed 3 rotations? And I know it's like easy to say don't think like that, because I say to people don't think like that all the time. There are some physiotherapists that I know that have only completed 1 rotation and then became a senior. There are some who completed all the rotations and then becoming a senior. So everybody's path's different, and I've done a whole video on that, debating the back and forth. Now, I still stand firm on the do what you like rotations and then jump situation. So for me, obviously you can probably tell it's like, oh, but she wants to be a senior, why didn't she go for a senior? So I did go for a static role. I didn't get the static role, and it's welfare, like welfare? It's, I don't know what I was trying to say there, but it's very fair that didn't get it. My performance was poor in the interview, and I was very frustrated with myself in terms of how I performed. Not the outcome, but like the performance. In the sense that I had this level of confidence, but when it comes to obviously certain situations, you can't be confident all the time. Like interviews, I get very nervous and I can get in my head, and that self-doubt really seeped in the interview, and I felt it coming in, and I feel like it was very obvious on my face that I was doubting myself a lot and beating myself up in my head, which was very frustrating to think about. But then sometimes, just based off that one performance, I can't help but think, am I really ready? Because if I was ready, I would have never performed like that. Do you know what I mean? But then other times I'm like, I shouldn't be so harsh on myself. It wasn't like I was having a great day anyway. I was having an awful day before the interview. And obviously things just kept spiraling. I was just spiraling. And it is what it is. But I can't help but feel like, considering everybody's been giving me praise about how I performed well in my current role as a senior physiotherapist, in terms of like the whole performance, like I've been amazing, I've been there on the stage with the lights on, I've been shining. But then when it comes to the one time where the performance really matters, I fumble my lines. Make that make sense. It was very irritating to have that, and obviously that's like, that's one of the reasons why I'm going back to rotating. But in terms of like looking forward past that, I've learned these things and I'm looking forward into being a rotational physiotherapist again. I'm grateful for the fact that I had a say on the rotation that I'm going into. I will be going into neurology, which I'm excited for, to learn a bit more about neurology, learn a bit more about strokes. I did neuro as a student, in terms of I just did mental health placement, which I did learn a lot on. I just didn't know enough about the stroke side of stuff, and I feel like it's only going to help me become a greater physiotherapist going through this rotation. But then I'm also at a point where I'm like, if a role popped up, would I go for it? I don't know. It's really hard to say, not just because of like my career side stuff, but like things I've got going on in life. I mean, I'm getting married in a couple of months, and like that's something that I'm also like, is it financially smart to move before I get married? Probably not, but we'll see. I will just take the leap as and when it comes. But I feel like I said, I'm going to learn a lot on this role. I think I learn a lot going back to being a junior. I think it will take a level of pressure off of me, but then I think it will also put a level of pressure on me. And by that, I mean, I feel like after a secondment, because people know you're capable of working at a higher band, there's a chance that you may still be seen or expected to do certain things that a higher band was doing. And now I don't want to get caught in that trap. I feel like I was in a sticky position before I went into this role because I was doing things that a higher band wouldn't actually do that were above my pay grade. But you get where I'm going with this. Like, I don't want to get in that vicious cycle of doing what a 6 would do as a 5. Like, it's not happening. So I'm thinking the fact that I'm going into neurology and I'm not as experienced in it as I am the other areas I've been in, that it's a good place for me to be comfortable, to be seen as purely a 5. Now, after that, in my opinion, I only have like one more rotation that I'm kind of open to doing. So I feel like I'm in a rut. I haven't achieved my goal thus far of wanting to only be a junior for 18 months. I feel like there's a high chance that I'm going to go over that, and nothing's wrong with that, but it's just not really where I want it to be at the time. And I'm not saying you should put a time scale on how long you want to be in a certain role. You shouldn't, because it just adds this pressure that I'm currently dealing with myself, and added to the self-doubt and everything, it just doesn't help. Though what I will say is, I think moving forward, I'm going to take a step back, take a look at what other people are doing, what makes them great senior physiotherapists, what more can I do to develop myself further, not just clinically but non-clinically. And I also want to like take a step back and really like deal with myself and think, why do I allow self-doubt to drive the car? Why don't I tell self-doubt to sit in the back seat and I ride the wave of other things? Like, there's so many uncertainties currently with how things are going, but just wrapping this up, because I realize I'm about to spiral. Just wrapping this up, I feel like at the end of the day, only you really know when you're ready for the step up. Only you feel it inside when you're ready for the step up. Don't step up because you feel like there's pressure to step up, whether it's the case of you're one of the senior 5s in your trust, and you feel like it's maybe time because all the other 5s have started to move before me. Don't let that, dictate when you make that decision. Maybe you're waiting on a particular role or a particular trust or a particular something, but stay true to yourself. You will know deep down when you're ready for it. Maybe have a discussion with management about what they think, what others think, because sometimes they see things that you don't see about yourself. And I feel like by getting feedback from other people, they're seeing things I don't see about myself. And I think ultimately what will be, and me stepping back down is probably for the best for this period of time in my life. But I hope you guys enjoyed my wrap up, my reflection on how this comment's gone, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Bye guys.